She left me for a rich man, but came back when I became one. I still remember the clink of her fork as it hit the edge of her plate. That sound, sharp, final, like a warning shot. She wasn't touching her food. I had spent the whole afternoon cooking her favorite lemon garlic salmon, soft mashed potatoes, and that overpriced bottle of white wine, she once said, reminded her of Paris. She just stared at me across the candlelit table, her lips pressed into a line. Then came the 5 words that shattered everything I think we need: space. At first I laughed. I thought it was a joke. But she didn't blink. I asked her what was going on. She avoided my eyes and said it wasn't me, it was life. Translation: I was broke. I was working 2 jobs, hustling hard just to keep the lights on. She, on the other hand, had dreams of yachts, rooftop parties, and Instagram-worthy vacations. I couldn't give her that yet. Then she dropped another bomb. His name is Nathan. He owns 3 startups. I froze. Nathan, a guy we once ran into at a networking event. The one with the Rolex, the smug grin, and a voice that sounded like it was born to pitch million-dollar ideas. She was leaving me for him. She packed her things that night. Took the new suitcase I bought her for her birthday. Didn't even take the photo of us in the wooden frame, just left it face down on the dresser. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat in the dark staring at that photo. And I made a promise. I won't just become rich, I'll become unforgettable. And when she comes crawling back, I'll make sure she regrets everything. But what I didn't know back then was this: Nathan wasn't just rich, he was dangerous. And her return wouldn't be for love. It would be a warning. After she left, everyone expected me to fall apart. Even my landlord gave me that look, half pity, half irritation, when I paid rent late again that month. My coworkers noticed I stopped talking much, and my friends, they vanished like smoke. But I wasn't grieving, I was planning. I sold everything I didn't need: my gaming console, my vintage watch, even the old acoustic guitar my father gave me when I was 13. I slept on a bare mattress in a room that smelled like coffee and ambition. And every single day I studied. I watched videos on investing, on building online businesses, on crypto, on flipping domain names. At night I'd write down 10 business ideas, no matter how stupid. One of those ideas turned out not so stupid. It started small: an ebook, then a course, then a small agency offering freelance services for brands who didn't want to pay bloated marketing firms. One client led to another and another. I hired 2 people, then 5, then 12. I never stopped. 3 years passed in a blur of midnight coffee, failed prototypes, and silent victories. Then one Thursday morning, I woke up and saw the bank notification. $1,000, 03874. I had crossed the $1 million mark. I just sat there on the edge of my sleek leather couch in my penthouse. Yes, I had one now with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the skyline. And I laughed. Not because I was rich, but because I remembered her words. You'll always be a dreamer, not a doer. That night I was invited to a tech gala. Black tie, rooftop venue. The kind of event where old money and new money shook hands over champagne and silent power games. I stepped out of the rolls I had rented just for that night, adjusted my cufflinks, and walked in like I belonged. And there she was. Across the room, red dress, still beautiful, still magnetic, but her smile was off. And then I saw him, Nathan, still smug, still expensive looking. But there was something behind his eyes, something unsettled. She spotted me, and for a moment time stopped. She whispered something to him and walked across the room slowly, like she wasn't sure I was real. When she finally stood in front of me, her voice trembled. "Can we talk? In private?" I raised an eyebrow. I could have said no, I should have said no. But something in her eyes, it wasn't love, it wasn't regret. It was fear, and that's when I knew she hadn't just come back because I was rich. She came back because something had gone terribly wrong. We stepped out onto the balcony. The city below was glowing, but her hands were shaking. She tried to play it cool at first, brushing her hair back, giving that soft, rehearsed smile. She always used to get what she wanted. But I wasn't the same man she left, and she wasn't the same woman I loved. "I've been meaning to reach out," she said. I leaned against the railing. "Took you 3 years." Her smile cracked. She looked down, her voice suddenly lower. "Nathan isn't who you think he is." I didn't say anything, I just waited. She looked around nervously, then leaned closer. "He's not just some rich entrepreneur. He launders money through fake tech startups. He has connections to people you don't want to meet. I've seen things, heard things." She paused. "Things I wish I hadn't." I crossed my arms. "And you stayed." Her voice broke a little. I was scared. At first, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Private jets, Bali weekends, watches, worth more than my college tuition. But then, he changed. She showed me her wrist, faint bruises not from an accident. He controls everything. Who I talk to, where I go, what I wear. He has cameras, microphones. I had to fake a migraine just to step away tonight. If he knew I was talking to you. Suddenly, the balcony door slid open. Nathan stepped out. He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. Darling, he said, his voice sweet and sharp. You vanished. Then he turned to me. Funny seeing you again. Didn't recognize you with all the success. I offered a fake smile. Money has a way of improving the view. He chuckled. That it does. But some views, he looked at her, are meant to stay private. She froze. I saw it then. The twitch in his jaw. The subtle clench of his fist. He was warning her. And warning me. He leaned in slightly. You two enjoy your little reunion. But I'd hate for her to forget who she belongs to. Then he walked back inside, just like that. She turned to me, eyes wet. I have no one else to run to. I need help. I should have walked away. I should have told her she made her choice 3 years ago. But something in me, a spark of who I used to be, couldn't ignore the storm behind her smile. I nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this my way? She looked confused. What does that mean? I stared out over the glittering city lights and said quietly, It means I'm not just rich. I'm connected now. And if Nathan's dangerous, we'll be 10 steps ahead of him. But what I didn't realize was that Nathan already knew. That night I didn't sleep. She stayed in the guest suite of my penthouse, barely speaking a word. She locked the door, drew the curtains, slept in her clothes. I sat at my desk, phone in hand, scrolling through old contacts, people I met over the past 3 years while climbing the ladder. CEOs, security consultants, a former FBI analyst who owed me a favor. It was time to make calls. By morning, the plan was already in motion. My private driver was to take her to a safe house I owned, under another name, one I never listed publicly. Encrypted security. No windows visible from the street. It was airtight. But then, the first message arrived. A plain white envelope slid under my front door. No return address. Inside was a single photo. Her, me, on the balcony the night before. The angle was elevated, a rooftop, across the street. Nathan had someone watching. No threats, no words, just proof. Proof he was watching every move. I called her to the living room, showed her the photo. She turned pale. He knows where I am. I shook my head. No, he knows where I was. We're already gone. We left immediately. She in a wig and oversized sunglasses, me in a hoodie baseball cap, and silence. The safe house was nestled between two abandoned properties in a part of the city no one cared about. Cameras, steel doors, backup generators. The kind of place you'd only find if you built it yourself. But before I dropped her off, I gave her a phone untraceable, encrypted with one number, mine. If anyone but me calls this phone, I said, you don't answer. She nodded. I'm scared. I looked her in the eyes. Good. Fear keeps us careful. She turned to leave, then hesitated. You really changed, didn't you? I had to, then I drove away. But as I turned onto the highway, my own phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. Then a second buzz. A photo of my office door. Spray painted in red. Stay out of this. I pulled over. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady. Because now I knew exactly what I was up against. Nathan wasn't just a con man. He was running an empire. And I had just declared war. The game had started. And I wasn't backing down. But what I didn't know was that the next move wouldn't be his. It would be hers. 3 nights passed. No calls, no texts. Just silence from the safe house. I assumed she was laying low like I told her to. But on the 4th night, I got curious. And when you're curious, you check the security footage. That's when the red flags started waving. At 11:14 p.m. on the second night, she stepped outside. She looked around, waited. Then someone approached from the alley. A man in a dark coat, hood up. They talked for exactly 2 minutes. She handed him something, a flash drive, then hugged him and went back inside. I froze the footage, zoomed in, couldn't see his face. But I knew she had gone behind my back. I drove straight to the safe house. She opened the door like nothing happened, offered coffee, smiled. I cut to the chase. Who was he? Her smile faded. What are you talking about? I played the clip on my phone. Her eyes darted, hands clenched. Finally, she sighed. You wouldn't understand. Try me. She hesitated, then sat down. His name is Jace. He's my half-brother, from my mom's side. We haven't spoken in years, but he's involved with the kind of people Nathan deals with. She swallowed. He knows how Nathan operates. and he wants to help. I stared at her. If that's true, why not tell me? Because you're not the only one with trust issues, she snapped. Then softer, I didn't know if you were helping me or using me. That stung, but I understood. Still, secrets could get us both killed. I needed more than her word. So I called in a favor, asked my contact at the security firm to run facial recognition on Jace from the footage. In the meantime, I pressed her for more. She opened up. Nathan uses shell companies to move money. He bribes city inspectors, launders through crypto fronts, and pays off politicians. But now, something's changed. He's paranoid, sloppy. He's hiding something big. I asked her what she meant. She looked at me and said, "He's planning to disappear, burn the evidence, and anyone who knows too much." I leaned in, then we have to move fast. But before she could answer, the lights in the safe house flickered, went out. Emergency generator kicked in, cameras down. I grabbed my phone, no signal. Her burner phone dead, the landline cut. Then came the pounding. 3 knocks, heavy, deliberate. She whispered, terrified, "That's how he knocks." I pulled her behind me. My heart pounded, but my mind was calm. I reached for the drawer, pulled out the steel I kept for emergencies. Whoever was on the other side of that door wasn't here to talk. And the war we just started, it was about to get very real. The pounding stopped. For 5 long seconds, there was nothing. Not a creak, not a shuffle. Just silence. Then crack. The lock snapped clean off. The door flung open like it had been kicked by a bull. And in stepped 2 men, dressed in black. No logos, no faces. The first one had a crowbar. The second had a suppressed pistol. Their eyes scanned the room like they knew exactly what they were looking for. I didn't wait. I pulled her down and pushed her toward the hallway. Back room, lock it, crawl through the vent. She hesitated. Go. They saw me then, raised the weapon. I fired first. 1 shot into the wall meant to miss, but loud enough to scatter them. They ducked. I dove behind the couch. The man with the gun fired once. Silenced, but deadly. The round punched into the concrete pillar next to my head. The safe house wasn't just safe, it was fortified. Steel-lined walls, hidden escape tunnel. But they didn't know that. I led them deeper into the apartment, into the kitchen, where I'd laid out a trap years ago. Motion-triggered flashbangs meant for intruders. As soon as I crossed the sensor, boom! A blinding burst of light, a ringing explosion. The men dropped, dazed and blinded. I grabbed the pistol from one and smashed the other's hand with the butt. They stumbled, retreated. I locked the back door just as they fled into the night. Police. Not an option. Nathan owned half the precinct. I raced to the back room. She was gone. The vent cover was off. I dropped to my knees, crawled through it, and emerged outside alone. Then I saw it, a white SUV, tinted windows, just pulling away. She was in the back seat. I caught a glimpse of her face, terrified, confused. Was she taken? Or did she choose to go? The SUV vanished into the night. I stood there, fists clenched, heart thundering, breath fogging in the cold. And then my phone buzzed. 1 new message. A photo. Me, standing in the alley, crosshairs drawn over my head. Then 3 words next time. Headshot. That wasn't a warning. It was a promise. They had her. And if I wanted to get her back, I'd have to go straight into Nathan's world. Uninvited, unforgiven, and fully prepared to burn it down. I didn't sleep, didn't eat. I just planned. By sunrise, I had already tracked the SUV's license plate, fake, of course. But the route it took, my street cameras, my own network, they gave me a thread, and I pulled it. It led to an abandoned marina on the South Docks. Old warehouses, rusted cranes, and one recently leased building under a dummy corporation. Nathan's people thought they were ghosts. But ghosts don't leave digital footprints. Nathan made one mistake. He used a logistics company for shell contracts. And that company used a cloud invoice system I'd helped design 3 years ago. Backdoor access, metadata, timestamps, boom. I found them. The warehouse wasn't guarded like a fortress. It was something worse. It was quiet, too quiet, which meant either a trap or he thought I wouldn't be stupid enough to come. He was wrong. I pulled up in a stolen delivery van, no plates, dressed in a mechanic's jumpsuit, cap low, tool bag packed but not with tools. As I crept around the side entrance, I spotted 2 cameras' standard lenses, not thermal, not motion sensitive. They underestimated me. I jammed them with a signal blocker, popped the side lock, slipped inside. The warehouse was cold, dusty, but it buzzed underneath, generators, servers, and something I didn't expect. Stacks of hard drives, labeled, coded, blackmail, accounts, secrets. Nathan's empire wasn't built on innovation. It was built on leverage. Suddenly, I heard voices. I ducked behind a forklift. It was her, and Nathan. She was tied to a chair in the center of a makeshift interrogation room. One of his men stood behind her. Nathan circled, slowly speaking in that condescending tone I hadn't heard since the gala. I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me by running to him. She didn't flinch. You never gave me freedom. He laughed. You think he can protect you? He's just money. I'm power. And power doesn't forgive betrayal. She looked him dead in the eyes. Then you'd better not blink, because when this is over, one of us won't be standing. He raised his hand but froze. A sound outside. It was me. I'd knocked over a steel pipe on purpose. Time to draw him out. I moved through the shadows circling the room. Nathan grabbed a pistol and signaled his men. One stayed with her. Two others spread out. I counted every step, every shadow, every breath. When one of the guards came near the shelves, I struck. Quick, silent. Disarmed him. Put him down. One left. Then I made my way toward the back, but someone was already there. Nathan. He raised his weapon. I dove behind a crate. As he fired, sparks exploded around me. Then I heard it. The fire alarm. She triggered it. Smoke started flooding from the sprinkler vents. Emergency protocol. Red lights flashing. Chaos. I sprinted toward her. Nathan shouted. She kicked backwards, slammed the guard in the shin. I tackled him, freed her. We have 60 seconds. We ran. Bullets ricocheted off steel beams, but we didn't stop. We reached the van. She jumped in. I hit the gas. Behind us, the warehouse lit up. Nathan screaming in the red haze. But before we turned the corner, she looked at me and said something I didn't expect. I didn't come back to be rescued. I came back to finish what he started. I stared at her. You mean? She nodded. I know where he keeps the blackmail. The real vault. The one even he doesn't control. That changed everything, because if we could get to it, we wouldn't just end Nathan. We'd own everyone he ever controlled. We didn't go back to the penthouse, too risky. Instead, I took her to a location even my closest contacts didn't know existed. A cabin I bought under an alias, upstate. No signal, no roads, just trees, silence, and secrets. Inside, she laid it out. There's a private club in the city she began called the Mirror Room. I'd heard whispers. Invitation only. No phones allowed. It was rumored to be where the real elite met. Not CEOs' handlers, the ones who pull strings behind the curtain. That's where Nathan stores the real leverage, she said. It's not money, not even files. It's live video. What kind of video, I asked? She met my eyes. The kind that would destroy legacies, government officials, CEOs, even judges. Nathan doesn't just own people, he archives them. She took out a napkin, sketched a rough map. Behind the back bar, there's an old service elevator. No buttons. You swipe a key card and it takes you down. One floor, no stairs, no second chance. And the vault, biometric scanner. Only opens to Nathan's retina or fingerprint. But she reached into her boot and pulled out a metal capsule. I have this. It's a synthetic skin clone I stole months ago. Matches his fingerprint. I was waiting for the right time. I blinked. You planned this. She looked away. I didn't know what I was planning, only that one day I'd stop running. We prepared all night, forged credentials, rented a luxury car. She posed as a European diplomat's assistant. I posed as her security detail. By the next evening, we arrived at the Mirror Room. It looked like an art museum. Tall windows, black marble, and inside, mirrors. Everywhere. Not just on the walls, on the floor ceilings, behind the bar. Reflections within reflections. She walked confidently through the lobby, flashed a card. The host bowed slightly, then gestured us through. Behind the bar, just like she said, was a mirror that didn't reflect. A fake. She pressed the corner. It clicked, slid open. We stepped inside the elevator. No buttons, just a scanner. She pulled out the capsule, pressed it to the pad. A slow blink, then, beep, access granted. We began to descend. She whispered, we'll have 5 minutes, no more. The vault opened to a cold, sterile room. Rows of server racks, air humming. In the center, an altar of glass. Touchscreen monitors, cameras, live feeds. We stepped forward. She moved fast, pulling drives, wiping logs. Get the blackmail. All of it, I said. But then, a voice, smooth, familiar. You always were good at hiding, but not good enough. Nathan stepped out of the shadows. He wasn't alone, 2 guards, armed. My blood froze. She looked at him. Thought you'd come. He smirked. And I thought you'd be smarter. Then he turned to me. I gave her the world. And she threw it away for you. Now she gets to watch you die. He raised his hand. But what happened next? No one saw coming. Nathan's finger curled on the trigger. The air in the vault tightened like it could break. She stepped in front of me. No. He hesitated. Just for a second. And that's when the lights went out. Total blackness, not flickering cut. Then flash. Strobe lights from the ceiling, alarms blaring. Red emergency lights spun across the walls like blood. The air system reversed. Smoke hissed from the vents. He shouted, "Who triggered the failsafe?" She smiled. "You did, by bringing your men in." I turned to her stunned. "You planned this?" She looked at me calm in the chaos. "I told you I wasn't here to be rescued." That's when the side wall of the vault hissed and opened. 4 armed agents stepped in. Not Nathan's men. Mine? Over the last 48 hours, I had quietly reactivated an old contact in cyber forensics. The same man who once owed me after I saved his reputation in a federal wiretap scandal. And tonight I called in everything. The lead agent turned to Nathan. "Hands up, now." Nathan laughed. "You think this means anything? Do you know how many judges I own? How many senators call me when they panic?" I stepped forward face to face with him. "You used to own them, but tonight I own you." And then I pointed to the stack of portable hard drives my team had already pulled from the servers. Copies, cloud uploads, off-site servers. Even if he ran the blackmail, wouldn't vanish. She walked up to him slowly. "Remember when you told me power means never having to say sorry?" She leaned in close. "Well, I'm not sorry." Nathan lunged. Too slow. He was on the ground before he could blink. Cuffed, disarmed, defeated. We walked out together, leaving behind the echoes of his empire. Outside, the air was different. Colder, clearer. She turned to me. "So what now? You go back to your perfect millionaire life." I shook my head. I go back changed. Because I didn't just become rich. I became dangerous to the people who think money makes them gods. She exhaled slowly, then handed me a folder. Inside names, bank accounts, paper trails. Everything Nathan didn't want the world to see. She whispered, "This isn't just the end of him. This is the beginning of something else." I looked at her. "You mean us?" She smiled. "I mean war, against every man like him." 6 months later, the world looked different. Nathan was gone. Not dead, just irrelevant. Indicted on multiple charges. His assets frozen. His name, toxic. The mirror room was shut down. The media called it the fall of the puppet master. But they didn't know the full truth. They didn't know who pulled the final strings. We did. The footage we released strategic. Just enough to collapse his empire, but not enough to end ours. Because now we had leverage on everyone he used to own. And suddenly doors opened. Calls came in from people who once laughed at my dreams. Now they were asking for favors. And every favor came with a price. She stood beside me through it all. No longer a broken escapee from Nathan's world, but a force of her own. Sharp, brilliant, ruthless when needed. We weren't in love, not in the way we used to be, but in something deeper and understanding forged in fire. And that was more dangerous than romance. One evening, while overlooking the city from my new high-rise office, she turned to me. "We built something out of ashes." She held up a glass of wine. "To revenge." I clinked my glass against hers. "To rebirth." But then I asked the question that had been gnawing at me. "Why did you really come back that night?" She didn't answer right away. She just looked out at the skyline. I told myself it was fear, then survival. But maybe it was guilt. I left you when you were nothing and came back when you were everything. She turned to face me, and I knew if anyone could bring him down, it was the man I underestimated. I nodded slowly. "But we're not done yet, are we?" Her eyes lit up with something cold and powerful. "Not even close, because for every Nathan, there's 10 more. And so the man she once left behind now stood at the helm of something larger than wealth, larger than revenge, influence, control, fear. And this time, no one was going to take it from me, because I didn't just survive betrayal, I monetized it. And the next time someone asks what I do for a living, I'll just smile and say I clean up the messes rich men leave behind, starting with the woman they thought they broke.